Hello guys and welcome back to our channel here again, and today's little adventure is a blind tasting on Harvest Pale, okay, and this one is brewed by Brewery based in Nottingham, okay. Now you're probably thinking Harvest Pale, blonde beer, 4.3%, isn't that more like a summer beer? Well, let's face it, what do we do at this time of the year towards the end of autumn? We do harvesting, so that's why I thought let's give it a whirl. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass you over to Chris, our whiskey connoisseur, who is going to tell you a little bit more about a very famous trip we did up in Nottingham over the past few months. Chris.
Yeah, we had a trip to Castle Rock Brewery, excuse me, and we had a day trip to Nottingham. And I have to admit, it's the first ever day trip I had. We had a look around the brewery. We had a look around some of their pubs in the centre of Nottingham. We got to try some beers. We, of course, went to the trip to Jerusalem pub, the oldest pub in the country, which was in itself a fantastic experience. And I have to admit, I was very impressed with the range of Castle Rock beers that we got to try. Even more impressed, and I can't think, Canalside Pub, Canalside
Yes.
Inn, Nottingham, cracking range of whiskies behind the bar. Anyway, that's mine, and I'm looking forward to this because Castle Rock is a brewery which, to my mind, is underrated or
Yeah.
unknown
Yeah.
as much as it should actually be.
No, that is true, to be fair. I mean, when you hear Castle Rock, not many people have really heard of it, even though it's such a big name when you go across the town and head into the places like Nottinghamshire. But without any further ado, I think it's time to open up the bottle. So here goes. Rightio. So what we're expecting is a beautiful, nice blonde colour in beer. And if I just show that up more to the camera, you should be able to see that being absolutely beautiful, crystal clear and blonde.
Now, intriguing. I look at that and I go, I agree with the crystal clear. I equally think that is a lovely harvest gold. It's exactly what it says on the bottle. To my mind, it is a harvest gold. Beautiful colour.
So the interesting thing you'll probably pick up on the nose is hop straight away.
Yeah,
and most importantly, citra hop. So you'll be getting that very citrusy aroma coming straight through your nose.
Yeah, I do love you talking me through this because I'm going, there's actually quite nuances to beer, which I haven't quite got hold of.
So you're going to be getting a very nice citrus aroma. On the taste, I'd say you're going for a very sweet, fruity. I'd also say mellow. And on the aftertaste, I think there is it's almost like there's a moorish feel to it. Like if someone gave me a bottle of that.
No, I'm quiet here.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there going, that's really nice. But I'll tell you what I'm getting off it. And people will laugh at this. Horlicks.
Yes.
That nighttime drink made with milk. I'm getting Horlicks. And at the end, on the finish, do you still get them? Do you still get them? Horlicks tablets?
Yes, I think you do still get them, yeah.
It's a Horlicks tablet at the end. Now, what amuses me with that Horlicks is nighttime drink. It's winter.
Yeah.
Autumn. Colder time. So I'm actually going, yeah, I agree. I get the citra. I get the fruit. I get the mellowness. Autumnal mellowness.
Yes.
And then I'm getting Horlicks.
Yes.
I've actually never had a beer with Horlicks before.
It's interesting for you to say that, Chris, to be fair. I mean, like, Harvest Pale Ale is pretty much one of the most popular rated beers by Castle Rock. So, and being at 4.3%, it's a great little session beer, to be fair.
I'll tell you what else I've just thought. It's a bottled beer.
Yeah.
Bottled beers, to me, are always thin and gassy.
This
has meat to it. This has body. It
is interesting, to be fair. I mean, you can actually purchase some bottles from the supermarkets and all that. Now, the interesting thing you mentioned there is, and that's down to the fact it's something to do, and it's called sediment. Okay, so sediment basically is like it's almost like a yeast texture. Now, when you're pouring a bottled beer which is full of sediment, the aim of the game is to actually tilt the glass to a 45-degree angle. So you want to go like that. Okay. And then you want to slowly pour the beer in while it's tilting the glass. So it's almost like you're basically pouring a pint behind the bar. Now, the issue is if you literally just pour that beer straight in, all you're going to get is a glass full of foam. Reason being for that is the sediment. Also, this is one thing that I'm not really a keen fan of sedimented beers. You actually miss out on the full volume of the bottle. Because of sediment, you have to leave roughly about that much left inside the bottle because it's all full of sediment. See, about that much there. You just think of how much you're missing out on there when you pay for a beer.
So I'm going to lose that amount.
You're going to lose that much amount.
This is a cracking beer. I mean, the first thing I'm going to do with this is pour the rest of it.
Yeah. So effectively,
it's worth it.
It's worth it. So just whilst I'm here, guys, I'm just going to run through the exact tasting notes because, whatever I've said could be wrong and whatever Chris has said could be wrong. So we picked up the citrus character, which is quite clear. It is a well-loved beer, as I mentioned earlier. So pretty much most bars around Burton have actually stocked this beer. And to be fair, it is hugely populated. It's also got the finest American hops as well. So it's not even just Citra, which is used. You've also got Cascade, Chinook, and also Centennial hops. So that's why whenever you do the aroma, you do get that hoppy sensation coming through. Now, personally, in my preference, I'm not normally a hoppy drinker, but actually I could drink that and just think, what, it's sweet, it's fruity, it's perfect, so I'm actually a fan of this, to be fair.
I have to admit, I don't see that bottle lasting very long.
No,
that regardless is going to be drunk very quickly. In fact, that is one of the best bottled beers I think I've actually ever had. I like cask beer. End of story. And that's getting on the verge of cask.
And the interesting thing as well, you just picked up there, Chris. So sometimes there's an element here where bottled beers will taste different to cask beers. So cask beers are normally chilled. So the ale will obviously be colder because it has to go through a python. So it's interesting you bring up that as well, Chris, about obviously the beer tasting like a cask ale. So bottled beers and cask beers do have that little difference to them. So a lot of people tend to chill bottled beers in the fridge. Now, I don't particularly like doing that because I think bottled beers should be kept at room temperature. Now, your typical normal ale beer, which you get from any pub down the country, sits inside a cellar. Now, there's two ways that barrel sits. They can either sit as a horizontal position, where the sediment stays at the bottom of the barrel, or it can sit vertical. And again, the sediment stays at the bottom. Now, the ale obviously has to run through something called a cooler. So the cooler chills the beer, and that brings out more flavour. Now, the only negative that you get with bottled beers is one thing which we do lose out on is something called the head retention. So at the minute right now, when you're looking at this beer, there's no physical head. The retention's gone. So people are going to think, you know what, it's a Duff beer. But that does not stop it from not giving any flavour, and that's the most important bit. So I think in hindsight, this is a great beer.
Yeah, it. This I will be looking out for in the supermarket now. I will be looking to buy this. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And yet everything about it, it's a blonde. I hate blondes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're into the colder part of the year, and yet this is still so beautiful. Yeah. It is so autumnal. I mean, it's golden colour. I'm now getting apples. I've had my Horlicks, so probably time I went to bed. But yeah, brilliant.
Good. So on that note, guys, it'll be interesting to see if you've actually tried this beer for yourselves, and then you can actually let us know to see what you think. See if you actually pick up the same tasting notes as me and Chris. You might pick up something completely different. So there's only one thing that that we've always got to make sure that you guys remember is to keep on liking and subscribing to our channel, the Cask Connoisseur. On that note, cheers.
Cheers.